Today's gaming audiences are actually playing across multiple gaming platforms. There is a bit of this idea that if you're a mobile player, you're only playing across mobile. If you're a console player, you're only playing across console. But we're actually seeing this real shift when it comes to how gaming audiences interact with platforms. And what we see is that they are playing across more than one platform throughout the day. They're no longer just a mobile player or a console player. And I think that's really interesting for brands as they start to think about how they should incorporate gaming into their media strategy. They need to be looking at gaming much more holistically and not thinking just in terms of platform, but thinking much more carefully about who is the audience that they're trying to reach, where is that audience interacting, and then which of these platforms is going to make sense for the audience they're trying to reach, the campaign objectives that they have, and take a more holistic approach to this cross-platform strategy.
And are there certain strategies that you would suggest that brands take to reach all these, this fragmented audience?
Yeah, and I think the biggest piece of advice that I give is to think about gaming holistically as part of a broader media approach. Right? Often gaming can be thought of in terms of this silo, something that just kind of happens on the side, something that, it's maybe ticking that innovation box. But where we see gaming actually being much more successful is when you think about it as part of the broader media mix. We know that consumers are interacting not just across different forms of gaming platforms, but also with different types of entertainment throughout the day. So you want to be thinking about where does the gaming piece fit alongside the other types of entertainment channels. One of the kind of most obvious examples we see of this is this idea of second screening. And we're very familiar with this concept in terms of, using your phone while you've got something on the big screen. But how we thought of second screening previously was very much linear TV on the big screen, social media on the phone or the small screen. Now we're seeing a shift where it's actually CTV on the big screen and it's gaming on the smaller screen, whether that's a handheld device or a mobile device. So understanding as well how gaming fits in alongside something like CTV and other forms of entertainment, so that when brands are doing a media strategy and a marketing strategy, they're incorporating gaming holistically, not just something on the side.
Gamers are spending more and more time online on the platforms. So how do you extend that beyond the screen in terms of what kind of experiences can you provide?
Yeah, there's so many different ways to activate within gaming, and I do think that sometimes for brands that can be a little bit intimidating, not quite knowing where to start, and there's so many different options. That's one of the great things about gaming. That's one of the maybe kind of, intimidating aspects of it. And so I think understanding broadly these three kind of categories that we have for how we think about gaming experiences. And the first one is experiences that are actually in the gameplay itself. So a really classic example of that is if you're playing a car racing game and you see kind of the billboard with the advertisement on the side of the road. That's what we call an in-the-game experience. So a brand experience that happens within the gameplay. Around the game are those brand experiences that happen in those moments between gameplay. So it might be between a level, it might be as something is loading. And again, a really good example of this is with mobile gaming and a game like Candy Crush. You play a game, finish a level, you watch a video, you get a reward, which would be the color bomb, and then you continue to play. And then the third way to think about these gaming experiences is outside of the game. So these are things like influencers, streaming, esports, gaming content that isn't actually within the gameplay experience. So those are ways to kind of activate outside of the game itself that can really extend the life of a campaign. So again, I think for brands, as they're thinking about how do we reach people when there's so many different ways to do so, it's about understanding the different ways that you can activate within the game and then identifying which is going to be the best one for my audience and which ones are going to be complementary to do so together.
There seems to be a lot of trends popping up, innovations. What are you excited about this year?
Yeah, what I'm most excited about is we're starting to see a shift in terms of the audience behavior, and then I think brands, are starting to really understand that shift. And what I mean by that is gamers are playing everywhere. They're playing across multiple different platforms, different devices, and we're starting to meet gaming audiences where they are. So finding ways for them to play how they want to play. They're no longer tethered to a specific type of device or time of day. And I think what we're seeing is brands really starting to understand that and starting to look at, okay, how do I create a strategy that really takes into account this evolution of gaming behavior that we're seeing? It's not just something that happens at a certain time of day or is tethered to a device, it's really happening throughout. And so as we're seeing this evolution, this greater accessibility, I think that's really going to open up the landscape for brands and the types of experiences they can have.